Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored, as you can see, by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. They've helped us incredibly, and I cannot thank them enough. Cannot recommend them highly enough. That's genuine, because they've been absolutely brilliant for this channel. VMB Auto Centres, also a huge supporter of the channel. Thank you for their continued support. Triple Point as well, because this is the warm-up. This is the show where we talk about the game coming up, and I'm just glancing to the side a little bit because this is the first time we've been live on both Facebook and YouTube. I was trying to go live to X as well, but for some reason it's not letting me, which is absolutely fine. But we're trying stuff out. We're trying new stuff all the time. So welcome to everybody that's joining us tonight. On reflection, are we okay with the draw at West Brom? I think the majority of us were, and I think we should be. That's my opinion, but you may think differently. There's also been some news recently about the takeover and who may be holding it up, and people will be wanting to give their opinion on that as well, I'm sure, which we can probably touch on very briefly because we've got a lot to get through with it. You know, we're here for a 30-minute window, because at 30:30 I'm moving over to Patreon to join my two mates, Paul Man Mountain and Dave the Nose Leary, and we're going to be talking about all things takeover on Patreon as well. So this is the warm-up where we're looking forward to Millwall, another really tough game. And I want us to think about what games we'd have thought about at the beginning of the season, where we'd be happy to take a point. And I think this is one of them. I'm not saying I definitely would be happy with a point, but Millwall away is notoriously difficult to go to. Yes, they've just lost, but they've already beat Leeds. They've already beat Burnley. They drew with Sunderland. And look, I'm not going to steal the thunder of somebody who's going to run it down for us in a minute, but yeah, it'd be a good point. The only thing is, the thing that turns people off about taking a point at Millwall is we've just taken a point quite happily at West Brom. So that's 2 points out of 2 games. It's not a good return for somebody pushing for not only automatic promotion, but the title at this stage. And we've got Leeds breathing down his neck. They had an easy fixture against Derby, or certainly a much easier fixture. They ain't got one tomorrow, though. They are at home to Middlesbrough. And to be honest, I'm thinking about going on our other channel, Behind the Ramble. I'm thinking about doing a bit of a Rivals watch-along. I can't guarantee that at the moment, because I've got to get Sky sorted out. I've been on phone to them for an hour and a half today. So we will be getting that sorted. But yeah, I might do a Rivals watch along, because that game has huge implications on Sheffield United, and I want to scope them out and see what the weaknesses are. And we'd be watching it anyway, wouldn't we? So those were my thoughts on that. So I don't think a draw would be a terrible result. You've got to take it out of context in terms of the run, but then we play Plymouth at home. No excuses on Saturday. Plymouth at home. We need to take 3 points from that game. So let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But before we do, we always like to get a bit of an idea as to how the other team are going to set up. And again, unfortunately, I couldn't get anybody from Lions TV. I'd been trying to get in touch with, and we just couldn't make it work in time. So stepping in at the last minute, it's our boy, Man Mountain. So I'm just going to ask him, or I have asked him, should I say, to give us a quick rundown. So this is a view from the mountain on Millwall.
This is a view from the mountain with a heart so pure it's astounding. Man Mountain, strong and true. What a man, what a view.
Good evening, Ramblers. How are you? This is going to be another tricky one. I know I said that last time we breezed past Oxford with a really convincing performance. I've just got back from a very, 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 very chilly Hawthorns. My son Ronnie has added thermal socks to his Christmas list because, yeah, I think his feet were ready to fall off by the end of it. So yeah, but we're back here, and I just want to preview the Millwall game, which is happening at 7:45 on Wednesday evening. They've lost this weekend to a bouncy Frank Lampard's first game in charge of Coventry City, and so they've lost at home to them. Again, we don't know whether that's a good sign that they're out of form, as I said last time, or whether it's going to be a case where they'll feel like they need to go all guns blazing and get a result. Now, obviously, Millwall has always notoriously been quite a tricky place to go and play. The new Den, I don't know if it's as fearsome as the old Den, but their results in November were very, very impressive indeed. They beat Leeds 1-0 and they beat Burnley 1-0. So, if Oxford was a banana skin, this is an ice rink. Despite my bolshiness and saying we should be aiming for 6 points from these two away matches, I'd be 4 points now would be a fantastic return, because this is a really, really tricky game. They are currently sat in 11th place in the league. They had one game that was called off at Pompey for light failure, so they've got 25 points, and obviously we compare that to our 41 points that we've acquired, and we should go into the game as slight favourites, but again, very, very tricky. So the danger man for them, their top rated 7.06 is his overall rating for the season, is a guy called Romain Esse. He plays on the right hand side for them. They typically line up 4-2-3-1, which is very popular in the Premier League, and obviously popular at United as well. They are missing Jake Cooper. He's a big miss for them, but they do welcome back Tanganga, who, if you remember, used to be on the books at Spurs. He's a really good athlete. He was suspended for the Coventry defeat, so he's back in their side. There's a couple of guys we might recognise. Ryan Leonard, who it seems can do no wrong in a Millwall shirt, is their captain now. So he's obviously doing a really, really good job for them, and it seems to work for him down there, because he didn't pull up any trees at Sheffield United, did he? They're not free scoring. They've scored 20 goals this season. United, obviously we've got our 25 now, so they don't score too many. They're described as being fairly direct and obviously fairly physical, usually is what we associate with them. They also did the average age, which was intriguing. So United's average age, if it's the lineup that Who Scored expects, will be average age of 24.5 years of age. There's slightly more experienced on 27.4. I don't know if that makes any difference at all. Duncan Watmore's their top scorer. He's got 5 goals this season. So yeah, they spread the goals around a bit. Esse, again, the danger man, who we've identified as their top rated player. He's got 3 goals this season. I remember Saville in the centre midfield for them. He's quite a decent player. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough test. Obviously the weather, the conditions, the atmosphere down at Millwall under the lights should be pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the game unfolds. I thought 2-2 today was and I'll retract what I said, was a really good result for us today, I think. And I'll agree with Jimmy and most of the callers. It's a great point, particularly after the first half an hour, where I thought I was fearing the worst. But no, I think we need to get ourselves out the blocks a lot quicker. I don't think we started really until they scored, and obviously they pinpointed one of our weaknesses, which should be sorted with the reappearance of Big Harry Suter at 6'7". Obviously they scored from a header today. Always disappointing to concede from set pieces, so I'm expecting better defending for that. I thought Gilchrist did quite well at centre half, but obviously they're quite a tall team, the Albion. And took advantage of that today. So I wanted to make sure we shore that up a little bit, and hopefully Suter's had a chance to get over his jet lag, and he looks more like the guy that we've come to expect this season. Some of those long diagonal raking passes won't go amiss either, because we'll love to see that from him. And obviously that key partnership at centre-back for us, I do expect Jack Robinson to drop out of our side and to make way for the centre-back pairing that just proved to be so formidable this season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, the view from the mountain.
This is the view from the mountain with a heart.
Thank you for the view from the mountain. Top man, Paul. Thank you, mate. So that is Millwall and what they're all about. Thanks to Paul. So what are your thoughts on that? I still think it's a really tricky fixture. People won't like me taking a point, but we said the same again before West Brom, and it's a good point in the end. Problem is, a point here might mean that we're off top spot, or it might even mean we drop out, I think. How does it? No, it might not. No, it won't do now, will it? So we'll still be in top 2 going into a Plymouth game at home. It's a 46-game season. But let me know what you think. And who do you think is going to start? I mean, we'll come on to my team in a minute. Just reminds me, actually, while that intro and outro playing, the view from the mountain. There was some talk in our group today, in our Ramblers chat, that Andy the Blade needs an intro song. Because obviously, it's just a Mick taking it, really. But it's funny, and it makes me laugh, and it makes me smile a lot. So he's back in the country, and I've spoken to him this evening. And one of the first things he said was, "Don't you dare." Don't you dare make me an intro. I says, what style do you want? You know, I can get some, you know, I can make it grand or whatever you want me to do it. No, I don't want one. I do not want one. So, you know, he's my dad. We believe in the hierarchy in our family where you respect your elders, and he's the boss. So at the moment, unless you get, look, I'm going to put a poll in the chat, but I don't know how to put a poll in. So there you go. So let me know if you think I should be doing an intro song for Andy the Blade, because he is the MVP of the channel. And it's good to have you back, Dad. I'm glad you had a good time. He may be joining me here for the watch along on Wednesday night. We're having problems with Sky TV, as you're all aware of, so I may have to do it in the house. And if I do it in the house, I'll try and get him on screen. He don't really want to be on screen at the moment. He wants to come and sit and chill and watch the game with me, to be honest. But we're doing a watch along on Wednesday. Who do you think should be in our team? And before I get into your comments, I might as well just throw up what I think my team's going to be in a bit of Born to Be Wild.
Born to be wild.
Tell. Born to be wild there. So this is the team I'm going with. And we've got a bit of an issue here, because I don't think Tyrese Campbell will be anywhere near the team. Just because I think he's probably more injured than we've let on, to be honest. So I'm going with Michael Cooper in goal. Obviously, what a keeper he is. Best keeper in the league. And we're back to our favourite defence, or certainly my favourite defence. Gilchrist at right back, Burrows at left back, Harry Suter at right centre-half, and El Ahmedhodzic at left centre-half. So some people may say Jack Robinson comes in for an L because they think Jack Robinson's played well. I'm not of that persuasion. I think Anel is just a much better player, to be honest. There's no two ways. I think there's levels, and I think him and Suter complement each other so well. I'm desperately hoping that the wee rest that Harry Suter has had will help him regain some of the form that we're used to seeing in a Sheffield United shirt, because he had gone off the boil a little bit. That was something that Andy the Blade was very strong on. Nobody can convince me that that's not had an impact. So, yeah, he had some strong opinions. I can't wait to get him back on, to be honest, because there's a few things that he's desperate to get off his chest by the sound of it. So, Harry Suter, let's hope he returns to form. Siddy Peck and Vinny Souza in the middle. I don't think Souza had best of games, to be honest. I thought Siddy did okay, but I expect a bit of inconsistency from Siddy. I don't expect, solid 7.5 every game. I expect a couple of 6s, a couple of 8s, a couple of 7s, that sort of thing. But Vinny Souza, I thought, dropped below his levels against West Brom. So I want Vinny to find himself a little bit again. Callum O'Hare's got a lot of praise. I think he ended up with player at match, certainly from a Sheffield United perspective against West Brom. Certainly worked his socks off. And looking back at some of the highlights, it was a real workhorse. And, fair play to him. He's growing into this side, into more and more. So I'm happy with Callum O'Hare in the 10. Gus Hamer now sort of adapting to that left-hand side, cuts inside on a regular basis, allowing Harrison Burrows to go past him on the left. We've sort of worked that out quite well. Raksaki, I think, is again, a bit like Vinny, has sort of his levels have dropped a little bit. And if you're Andre Brooks, you've got to be thinking, what do I have to do to get in this team or get a look in? Because he's not at the moment, and it's surprising to me. And this is the difficult call up front. It's not a difficult call for me in terms of quality, because if we think Tyrese Campbell isn't fit, which I believe, and that's just speculation from me, that's not insider information or anything. I'm speculating that because of the way he went off, Wilder's saying it was a precaution, and I hope he's right, and I hope that turns out to be true, because I think Tyrese Campbell has the shirt at the moment and would start if fit. But I don't think he is fit, so I'm playing Kiefer Moore, and this is a risk because Kiefer Moore hasn't played a minute of football for 6 weeks. So to start somebody like that won't be match fit or sharp is a risk. The alternative is playing Ryan Brewster. So, and I don't think Ryan Brewster looked very sharp either. So it's a difficult decision, and it sort of shows where we're a little bit light now, which will form part of our plan for Jan. We'll be looking at a January not rebuild, but we'll be looking at what moves we need to make in the window, and that'll start with a squad assessment like we tend to do. Where are we with our squad? Where do we need to strengthen? And we'll see. We'll see what comes out of that. So let me know your thoughts on that. I'm going to get into some of your comments now. Let's have a look. And Mogga starts us off tonight saying, no sentiment over Robbo. Done a job, but he's level below the regular 2. Completely agree, pal. O'Hare is clicking. He's not a flair player. He's like a Nick Montgomery and Pesh hybrid of a number 10. I can see the 2-player comparison. I think he thinks of himself as a flair player. Some fans think of him as a flair player because he can show that from time to time. He likes a cheeky little flick or a back heel. But I like the reference. He's more like Pesh than else, isn't he, I suppose. I wish he could score like Pesh. But he is clicking, and he is adapting to this team. And maybe now eyes have sort of come off him as the main man, because I think at the start of the season, we're all thinking he's going to be the boy. And we've all sort of moved to other players, haven't we, now? And sort of Callum O'Hare, he's been okay. He's a good player, but he's not really done what we hoped for. Maybe now the eyes are off him a little bit. He's starting to grow into the team, which is good. Hi, all. Into the Lions' Den. It's not as intimidating as olden times, says David. We should have our regular back four together again. And if Campbell plays, I'm looking forward to Dave eating his socks. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, hit the like. Yeah, Dave, the nose came on 90 after 90 last night and said, if Tyrese Campbell's fit, he's on the same page as me, really, because I agree with him. He don't think Tyrese Campbell's going to be fit to make the squad. And if he starts, then Dave will eat his socks, and we'll make sure that's live on the Ramble, so you can all enjoy that. Jay says, good evening, Jimmy. Hope you're well, pal. I am, mate. Hope you are too. Anel and Suter are back. Come on, Blades. We've got this going for a 2-0 win on Pigs Day. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Jimmy Civil says, Anel and Suter straight back in. Not surprised we conceded from a corner. Could have been more than one in the first 20 minutes. It could. They were all over us. Credit the team for getting in front. Unlucky with their equaliser. Very unlucky. It was a deflection off Gus, weren't it? And looped over Michael Cooper, who was stranded and had no chance, to be fair. Beast Boy says, evening, Jimmy. I'm a prominent member of the Brewster fan club. I'm quite disappointed to see him get a lot of stick on Saturday. He'll start banging in the goals as soon as he is fit. Trust me. I hope you're right, pal. I hope you're right. And I'm not one for the rhetoric that I saw as well in terms of, oh, he's useless. It's the worst cameo from a player I've ever seen. He looked off it, I thought. He looked off it, and I wouldn't be confident with him starting, to be honest. I'm not going to switch up my opinion on that just because, I'd put a 80% fit Kiefer Moore in over a 90% fit Ryan Brewster at the minute, all because we've got a 60% fit Tyrese Campbell. So I hope, like the rest of us hope, that Brewster comes good, but there's less and less people have faith in that happening, I think, at the moment. But somebody who does. Evening, Jimmy. Millwall dropped off a little bit in the last few games. Expect a fairly comfortable night, says Ian, with the return of the centre-backs. 2-0 Blades, like and subscribe. A fairly comfortable night. Do you know, to be fair, I was looking at their lineup, and there's no longer the great, not great names, but they always have players that pack a punch, don't they? Not literally. Well, sometimes at Millwall, but they always have some decent names in the side, and I don't see a lot of them at the minute. You know, I don't want to mention names because they will come back and bite me massively. But having Jake Cooper out of the side, for example, they've no longer got Zian Fleming, who were a big threat. But I think, yeah, you're right. Who's the lad up front that scored a hat-trick against us? He's still playing, isn't he? But it's not as formidable. Evening, Jim. Will there be a watch-along for Millwall? Yes, there will, pal. I think Anel and Suits will be back. With them back, we can win, even with Millwall being a horrible team to play. I hope the break for Suits was helpful. Absolutely right. Just realised still need to watch night after night. No spoilers, please, and thank you. Tim, good evening, pal. Hi, Jimmy. I'm optimistic as always. Regular back 4 plus maybe a big key for 2. And Brewster on the score sheet. To get on the score sheet, wow. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. 2-0 Blades, he says. Wow. Evening, Jim. 2-0 win on Wednesday, says Aaron. Can see Suits bulletin one in from a Burrows set piece. Would love that. Would love that. We've not seen enough of Harry Suter in an attacking sense from set plays. He's done brilliant defensively until the last couple of games where he's looked a little bit, 6 or 7 out of 10. But he should be the dominant force in the opposition box and defensively. Really, it seems to be Kiefer Moore that's the old McBurney role, isn't it? Centre forward coming back to clear out corners. John says it'll be a tough game, but I think we'll come away with a win. Do we know if Campbell's fit? No, we don't, John. And I'm purely speculating, saying he won't be. But I'd be surprised. The type of injury he looked like he had. I thought it was his hammy. Manager's saying it's his back, and we take what the manager's saying, but he's a wily old fox, is Chrissy Wilder, as we know. So we'll wait and see. Evening, Jim and the Ramblers, says Chris. So it's off to the Den on the day before Thursday. Hoping Tyrese has actually got a glass back and not done a hammy. If he's fit, I'm going 1-2 Blades. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Did I manage to get the Ramble on Amazon Music? No, to be honest, I haven't done anything with it, Jamie. We are on Spotify now. We're on the majority of podcast platforms, if that's the way you prefer to listen to your Ramble fix. I've also put on today the first 2 episodes of Behind the Ramble as well, which is a second channel that we've got running. Links in the description if you're interested in going over and subscribing there. But that's showing you a little bit about what it's like running a YouTube channel and how we set everything up and, things we think about and all these sort of things. So as I say, I might be doing a watch along on there tomorrow, but I need to get everything sorted out and put in place first. Evening, Jimmy and Ramblers gang. I reckon a 3-0 win against Millwall. Not saying it's going to be easy, but I think we'll be clinical after a tough performance against the Baggies. So we'll be up for it, I reckon. I hope you're right, Nige. And Jay coming over from Facebook, which tells me that it's actually working. Can't believe what I've heard on Radio Sheffield this evening in regards to Adam Oxley's comments at the game yesterday. Sheffield United's Becker are up there, up here. Is the wrong... what the heck is wrong with that? Too many Karens in this world nowadays. No, I think that's funny. Sheffield United's Pecker are up here nowadays. Very indeed. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Can't believe we're... Oh, you've repeated it. That's fair enough. Yeah, it's something to know, isn't it? Look, we try and be as inoffensive as possible on this channel, to be honest. I want people to be able to sit down and watch it with their kids and know that, you're not going to get expletives or anything said out of turn. And it is a bit cheeky, isn't it? But Adam won't say out of turn. I think that's funny. Why would you watch Leeds? Rather eat my own feet. Because I'll be watching him anyway, Lee. It's a pain that I put myself through when we've got rivals. The thing I would have to do, though, if I do a watch along for them, is stay watching it. Because normally when Leeds score, I'm just being honest, when Leeds score, I turn it off and I can't watch the rest of it. So I'm hoping Borough beat them tomorrow. I know Borough are a threat to us, and I think they will be in and around it most of the season. But I'd rather they come into it and take away from Leeds a little bit than Leeds pull away with us. Roy says, Jim, win at home and draw away is 2 points per game advantage, 96 points over the season. Absolutely right, Roy. And I think this is the way that we have to look at it. I think it's a long season, and yeah, we can take a point at Millwall and still go on and win the league, for example. But I want 3 points. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it misconstrued, but it's not a terrible result if we get a draw. Matthew says this takeover's doing my head in now. It's happening. They're not looking good. Then it's happening. Then it's not looking good. What's happening? Up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. I'm just checking time because we're starting with 3 Mardy Blades to talk takeover in 5 minutes. So I'll get through as many as I can. Takeover. I'll see if I can come to it in a minute. Evening, Jimmy. Aldborough tomorrow, aren't we? Absolutely right, we are, Martin. Absolutely right. What a man, what a view, says Nige. Does anyone else sing along to the song? Yes, I do, mate. If you could see me in background, I'm dancing as well as singing because I love it. I love it. Millwall are going to be really tough, and 1 point is reasonable expectation, although they do have injury concerns, and depending on their availability will determine the 3 points or a single point, says Mr. V. Ron says 114 watching. There's 210 in a minute, Roy. 17 likes. Come on, get that like button. Hit up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. And Jay's commented again. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Now then, lads. 0-2 for us down at the Den. SS Spelling not playing, out injured. Oh, SS injured, is he? The main man that Mountain were talking about. So I'm confident. Nice. Andy the Blades intro, the Andy Pandy music. Wow. I would never get away with that. I don't just mean for copyright. I mean, he would have me. No hierarchy in the Ramble. No, in our house or in our family. You've got to respect your elders. Liam, thank you very much, pal. Gifting a Blades Ramble membership. I felt bad that a dirty Leeds fan like me took a gifted member that a Blade could have. So I'm paying it back, Jim. Liam, top man. You're always welcome here, pal. Member or no member, but I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, definitely needs an intro. You're watching this, Dad. Ramble. Get Andy's. Andy gets an intro. Absolutely right. Tough game for sure, says Ray, but we have ambition to finish in the top 2. We have to go for the win, no messing. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Jimmy Foster, hope you well, pal. Intro required. The boss, Springsteen. He loves Springsteen. He absolutely loves Springsteen. Kiefer doesn't suit our style of play, says Paul. He's a good player, but not our style. So you've got to make it fit then, haven't you, Paul? You can't just say, no, we'll never play him. You've got to play to his strengths a little bit like you were talking about other night. We know why NL got sent off because he had a brand new baby blade, says Pixie. Oh, that is cynical, but probably true. Nige says, definitely agree. I think he needed that rest, to be honest. All that travelling for anyone would affect you massively. And Nell's got some making up to do as well. So I can see a big game from him. Hope so. More will lead to no goals, says Lee. Evening, pal, says Liam. Hope you're well. Suter and Nell have to come back in for me and more to start a very tough game. They beat Leeds and Burnley back-to-back at home and drew with Sunderland. No thanks for Rian up front, says Jimmy Foster. What about starting Marsh up front, says Pixie. Another gamble, yes, but it could cause some problems. It could, but if you're going for I love Louis Marsh, and he's always been very kind to me in the very few interactions we've had. You'd stick with Ryan O'Neill, though, weren't you? If you're going with a youngster that's done okay, and Ryan O'Neill has done okay, but I think away at Millwall, you want a bit of proven metal, and I think Kiefer Moore gives you that. I'd want Tyrese Campbell if he's fit, if I'm honest. A huge game. Just hope we can get maximum points. If not, it's just don't lose and take a point up the Blades, up the Ramble. I am behind now. Moore or Brewster will start. Ty Campbell on the bench, says Jimmy. I would start Davis over Peck, says John. Interesting. Marsh, no way. One's ahead of him, says James. Got to start giving Marsh a chance. I think Marsh might go out on loan, to be honest, Pixie. I don't think he's getting a look in. Whether you agree with that or not, I don't think he's getting a look in, and he'd benefit much more from a loan move. Brewster shouldn't even be on the bench. He's not showing anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not throwing abuse to him or anything. But from a football perspective, he's not offering anything, says Nige. I'd like to see Tom Davis get an hour, says Man Mountain. An hour plus, minutes to build him up for a busy Christmas, Peck to rest, and more to start with Tyrese out. Fair. I can see the argument for Tom Davis. Definitely agree, Paul, about Tom Davis, says Nige. Brewster hat-trick coming up then, says David. Michael says Brewster just needs a goal like Davis did against Sunderland to boost his confidence, which will hopefully kickstart his Blade season into gear. Lee says, I have to say, I agree, Jim. I wouldn't sign Suter if we do go up. I don't think he's agile enough. He'd get pulled apart. interesting. That's a whole different conversation, isn't it? Because I'm not sure myself whether he'd cut it at Prem level. But do you sign him because you've got one of the best Championship defenders in your squad? Don't know. Interesting. Tough game Wednesday night, says Mark. Woman at work said they saw players warming down yesterday and Tyrese was running widths of the pitch. So fingers crossed can see him doing that. If he can't see him doing that if he'd done his hamstring. Brilliant. Well, if that's the case, and I know it's a woman from work who knows someone or whatever it might be, but I don't want to start jungle drums on something that's, not nailed on. But that's a very good sign in it, Mark. So thank you for sharing that, pal. Michael says Kiefer Moore is ideal for this matchup against Millwall. His height at defending against Millwall set pieces, where they're strong in the air with their giant defenders. I agree. To beat Millwall, we need to stick to football and not get drawn into a battle. Mark says it's the view from the mountain. 92 points was always rubbish at maths. I thought you were a little bit off, Roy, but I wasn't going to call you out, pal. What are your opinions on when Femi Siriki comes forward? He always fails to cross the ball. Seth, it's not that he fails to cross the ball. That doesn't concern me too much because anything that a right back gets out in terms of an attacking phase of play is a bonus, really. So if he's reluctant to pull the trigger a little bit sometimes down the right, I'm not as concerned. What I am concerned with is his defensive work at times. Again, I don't want to scapegoat him. I don't want to call him out because he's a young lad and he's done very well this season. I think he's better served for games where we are expected to dominate the ball or certainly have a lot more possession at home predominantly. So we can attack and he can get involved in those attacks and we're not as vulnerable defensively. I also think him coming on at like 70 minutes for Alfie Gilchrist is a good move because players are tired and he can run a term. So I think that'd be a good move, Seth, to be fair. Roy says, Andy, we were born to run. Absolutely we were. Jimmy, does it scare you to see Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester struggle in the Premier League, given they were so strong in the Championship last season? Southampton and Ipswich have won one match each. It doesn't scare me. It disappoints me because that is where we are. That's the reality of what's happening with the Premier League and the gap. I haven't really got time to go into it. Sorry, Michael, but that is the reality, isn't it? And if we get promoted, that is a headache that we'll have. It's a real concern, to be honest, because we don't want a repeat of last season. That's the last thing we want. But all you can do is focus on continuing to build the foundations and the signings that Wilder's made, the youth that he's brought in and bringing the average age down and the value of the assets that he's added back into the squad. It's the best possible start that he could have given us. So we'll see. We'll see. Andy the Blade needs the Imperial March from Star Wars, says Chris. Siriki just needs a bit of confidence, says Jimmy. It'll come. He's worth working on. I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there. So apologies to those that are waiting on the Patreon stream, but I want to make sure I get everybody's comments in. Harry says, both our goals came from balls across the box from Harrison Burrows. We need to get him into them positions a lot more. Yeah, he's done really well in final third as Harrison Burrows. Evening, Jimmy. Do you think Suter on a permanent is realistic? I do if we go up, Kieran. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Yeah, I do. If we go up, I think he's definitely realistic. If we don't, then no. Evening, Jimmy, says Liam. If Moore and Campbell are not fully fit, maybe it's time for a last roll of the dice with Brewster. Give him some minutes to try and build some confidence. Fair dues. Willing to give him one last go. Scotty says, only just got here, so not sure if you've answered. Thoughts on PA moving the goalposts and asking for more money, bonuses if promoted. New owners could now pull out. I'm about to discuss all of that, mate, over on Patreon. So I'm posting the links to the Patreon in our WhatsApp chats as well. So if you're in there, then jump in by all means and join us. How about Suter up front tomorrow, says Lee. Evening, Jimmy, says Danny. Evening, Blades. I think Moore was the best crosser of the ball against West Brom. He has to play. Moore was the best crosser of the ball against West Brom. Do you mean Burrows? I think 4-4-2 with One and Moore up the Blades, up the Ramble, hit that like button, Blades. So if you're playing Moore and One, you've got to drop realistically, you've got to drop Hamer, O'Hare or Raksaki, unless you're moving O'Hare back and dropping Peck. Moving Hamer back and dropping Peck. I don't think you can drop O'Hare after how well he played. So I like a 4-4-2 though, Danny. It shakes things up a little bit. Random thought, drop Vinny and move Anel into midfield. That's very randomly. And I wouldn't, without thinking about it too much, it's not something I'd be considering at the moment. Evening, guys, says Jack. Tough one, but I feel like we need a win to stay away from third. Femi showed he needs a lot of work defensively and can be a weapon if used correctly. It's still raw, isn't it? Still a long way to go before I finished the article, but yeah, we're certainly pleased with his progression, aren't we? Nigel says, couldn't watch the match because of the stream wasn't working, but watched the highlights and it was very concerning about how many times Sariki didn't and couldn't stop a cross. Yeah, I mentioned that, to be honest, didn't watch along. And it's something I'd touched on before, and at the risk of sounding negative, because we all want him to do really well, but you've just got to be honest with your concerns, haven't you? And where you see a little bit of a gap. Last roll of the dice with Brewster, had about 20 rolls of the dice, done now. Rubbish, says Mark. Oh, I'm going to have to go before it gets... how about we all hold hands and send hugs and kisses into the universe? It's like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Scotty says, I'm not on WhatsApp or Patreon, so I'll just have to guess you. Scott, you used to be in WhatsApp group, though, and I can see you remember now. So you're more than welcome to jump back in, pal, and join us. But I'm going to have to end there because I'm nearly 6 minutes over. So thank you to everybody for joining me tonight. Get your score predictions in the comments. I'm going for a 2-0 Blades. 2-0 Blades. I'm going to hopefully be watching Borough beat Leeds tomorrow night, and then we're going to extend our lead at the top of the table. Let's put it out there. Like Lee says, hold hands and put it into the universe, and it will happen. But for now, see you on Patreon in 2 minutes. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the Blade!
Ramble on.